Let's make a stone knife. Anyone that has seen any one of my videos, you know that stone is my preference. Stone is my go-to. I've processed all sorts of game with stone knives. I've built plenty of fires with stone blades. I've crafted manner of atlatls and bows with stone blades. Of those stone blades, they've been hafted in Osage handles, antler tines, or they have been a kind of a fixed blade, one solid piece of stone shaped into a blade. Some have had a more dagger effect, some have had a cutout effect, some have been simply hand blades. No matter what, a stone blade for me is my go-to. Bottom line, stone is more fun, especially when you've made it, and life is just too simple with steel. Here's 3 examples. This guy right here, it's been well loved and well used. The best part is this isn't even the original shape of the blade. It was a little bit longer on both sides and had a little bit more of a swoop. Just through usage and resharpening, ultimately its shape will change over time. Little side carry sheath, nothing snazzy, gets the job done. Second is another little side carry. Loop that through your belt or your waist wrap. This is just a small blade and a little Osage handle. Great for skinning, great for those tight spaces. Very thin, perfect for cutting notches, opening up an animal. This guy, you can't go wrong with it. Lastly, this is kind of my go-to stone blade. It's called a cutout. You've seen them before, I've talked about them before. This right here is the model that you want to make. It's got a lot of life. When you think about the thickness of this blade, you can work this down till there's absolutely nothing left. More importantly, it can be shaped into a different tool. It's got a small cutout, a small back end that's great for scraping. The top side of that blade, if you really use this for sawing on wood, like cutting notches in a fireboard, you can keep this edge down here a little bit finer. Game processing, cleaning fish. You can even use this hook section right here for grabbing and cutting down plant fibers. This is the blade that should be your first blade, one solid piece of stone when crafting a stone blade. Now this blade can come in a number of shapes and sizes. I've made them large, I've made them small, easy to go around the neck, small enough to fit in your pocket if you're traveling. Point of this is you're gonna get a lot more life out of this compared to a small little skinner like this. This guy is the target. You want that path, you want that journey, you want that challenge, craft one of these bad boys right here. Backside skinner, fiber processing, top side saw, bottom side blade, and you got your point for making divots and fireboards. This is what we're gonna build today, and we're gonna build a big one. So to do these, I like a hard piece of chert, no obsidians, no keel cooks. I don't like to use anything heat treated. All of those are soft. And I want a hard stone that's gonna be a challenge to knap, but it's also gonna give me some longevity. More importantly, a good edge that can stay sharp and won't need a lot of resharpening. Georgetown chert, Pedernales chert, root beer chert, the harder, the better. No heat treated, no obsidian. Start this off, always got a leg pad. That is just a little bit of protection while I'm beating on this stone. Now as far as gloves, eye protection, that's knapper's preference. Typically don't wear gloves because I like to be able to feel the stone. That's my preference. A lot of folks like to wear eye protection. If you hit the stone the right way, you're gonna avoid about 99% of the stone flying up in your face. Only when you hit the stone improperly will you increase the chances of little stone pieces flying up and hitting you in the face. Now when you're eyeing your piece of stone, you have to think that it's not going to be this shape. I want to try and keep as much length and as width as possible, but the reality is as I reduce this stone, it's probably going to get a little bit shorter and it's going to lose some of that width in between. The width is okay because I don't want too big of a blade. I want a blade that's going to work well. I can build a sheath for it and get it into action. For this, I'm going to be using antler billets, antler tines for pressure flaking, and plenty of hammer stones for a little bit of a mix and match. You can use copper. I typically don't. I'll be honest, I never use copper. It's not really my thing. I do teach folks how to use copper, but I like the antler stone and bone journey. Just like anything in knapping, I'm always sizing up. Looking for those immediate platforms, kind of giving myself a little bit of a plan. You can already see by looking at this piece of Georgetown chert, it's thicker up in this area and it's a lot thinner down here. So I'm likely to lose some of this, but I'm really considering my stone blade to be resting in this area right through here. You can see inside, this is the material I'm looking to turn into my actual blade. All that white transition to that cortex, that's all the material I'm going to remove first until I can get it down into a bifacial form. Looks pretty good. Even that transition from the cortex on in, that's not a bad thing. Even if I got some of this wet, you can kind of see some almost tree rings right there, or little growth rings. That's still feasible to use, but I don't want to use any of this cortex in any component of that actual knife. I'm going to try and break off some of this thin stuff. A lot thinner right through here. Don't have tons of material. No matter what, this will wind up working. Very thin piece of stone to a very thick piece of stone. A little shallow because I've got good material through here. I don't want to grab too much from taking big chunks out because this is that thinner end of the stone. There's no time where you can't go from soft billet to hard billet. It's kind of at your judgment. I see a platform that I want to hit with a soft billet. The reason why is I'm looking to remove a thinner piece. If it's a good platform, like that flake I removed right through here, I know that if I hit it with too much stone, hard billet, I can wind up moving too much of this stone out. I want to try and keep as much because it's a relatively thin piece of stone to start with. How I avoid getting stone into my eyes, it's a pretty simple concept to understand. As I'm coming down and I'm looking to abrade my stone, I'm always coming down. Even though it looks like I'm coming back up close to the stone, I'm coming down, up, down, up. If I was to hit my stone up, I'm likely to throw stone into my eyes. So every time I abrade, I'm hitting the stone's edge, I'm abrading the stone's edge, I'm coming down, out, up, down, abrasion, out, up, down, abrading, out, up, down, abrading, out, up. As I'm doing this, I'm looking to raise this edge up just a bit so I can try and take some flakes across this way. Thick cortex. Right there. This is that target piece I was kind of going for, that chunk of cortex. Good strike. I still got some white in there. It's not cortex, it's that transition. Let's go for this, go for this. There's that piece. All that cortex right off. This platform's a little bit more isolated, still a good platform. I'm just going to take off a little bit on the strike. Should have applied a little bit more, but there's that guy. As I'm looking at this piece of the stone, I know it's not going to be this wide, so I can take some off these edges. Want to keep the length, want to reduce this down maybe about 4 fingers in width. So instead of trying to fight flakes from a really far out edge, my edge is out here and I'm trying to throw flakes across. You can, but just take off bigger flakes off these edges right off the bat, and then worry about your thinning once you're at your width that you want to go for. That right there's a good little projectile flake. A little more. Good. Good. Perfect. Right across. Good. Right there. Now we're going to raise this edge up, tack it this way. Just give it a hold. She dove a little too high still. Oh well, not a problem. Dove out right there at hinge. Yeah, it's about right there. That's all right. Keep going this way. Good one. So we got Cortex on this side. We're still working on this side. And then we'll turn it over and attack this side. Good. Good. That one. There. Got that. That guy. Where's my spot? Right there. Gotcha. Good. It's tight. Let's see if we can get there with this guy. Starting to kind of create one straight edge. Still a little wavy. We'll go right here. Move the rest of this Cortex. Gotcha. That guy there. Still got one funkiness there. I think I'm going to try and wrap it right around. A little bit. So we are at our kind of bifacial phase. We have two obvious sides, 1, 2. Still got a little bit of that white on there, but that's not Cortex. It's not a big deal at all. What I am gonna do is I'm gonna keep this end down here where it was a little bit thinner as my handle, and this end up here more as my blade. And right here, wherever that little chip's taken out of, that's where I'm gonna start my cutout. Just with a hammerstone, I'm gonna kind of craft a half moon and craft the top of my blade, the scraping portion of my blade, my blade's edge, and then I'll work on that back hook for cutting and processing fibers. I want it to be where I can get at least 2 or 3 fingers on the inside. That gives me plenty of room to work. More importantly, it's going to have a lot of longevity in the actual blade. The saw top, the blade's edge, the scraper, and my fiber hook. Can, wherever it went, can do some billet in there. Get a thinner stone so you're still applying percussion, but you'll see you'll start to get a really uneven edge. So you kind of have to back and forth, and then you pressure flake out more of that actual cutout portion. So this is that thinner end that I'm working on. So we're looking more of that thin stone, and that white cortex was kind of hanging out. This is what I really want to use on that scraper side. Straight. Oh, one spot right there. It don't matter. It's gonna get covered up by the wrap, but good. Nice and straight. Now we've got our whole back edge done. Let's turn to this knife's edge. Put a little final pressure flake on there, we'll be good to go. Real fine flaker on the blade. Kind of that final pass before you wrap it. I got this one little imperfection right here. I'm not worried about it. It's gonna get wrapped up anyway. To be honest with you, these are tools. There we go. It's definitely bigger than normal, but it'll work. It's got plenty of longevity to it. This thing will last, god dang, this will last for years, but yeah, let's wrap the handle. All right, for the handle, I just use a piece of veg stand, deer hide, a little bit of rendered deer fat. To wrap this, I kind of try to put as much back here as I can to kind of extend my handle, even though my cutout is right here. That's where majority of it lie, but I try to wrap it kind of at an angle back here on my first wrap and then wrap it forward. Do this, I lay across the back, pinch with the finger, and I stretch, and then I come up. And I'm looking to make sure they all bind across the top. The inside, they're going to get a little bit tighter, but just keep wrapping. Always wrapping over an edge. Wrap, pulling tight, pinch, wrap, pulling tight, pinch, wrap, all the way up. And right when you get to this little pigtail section, you can kind of see that my wrap is wider than my notch. All I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this up right here and just feed it underneath. Now once everything is said and done and I have it wrapped on here, I'm just simply going to want to put one layer of animal fat. That's going to really just condition the leather, kind of give it a little bit of life, and then I seal it with wax. The idea is to seal it with the wax so it makes it a little bit more grippy in case you're working with animal blood or anything like that. It doesn't get too slippery. It's kind of like putting, you know, pine tar on a bat, if you will. Rub it in that leather. Nice and good. Bison horn candle, bit of beeswax, and my blade. All I'm looking to do is heat up my wax over my candle, just smear that wax on there so it starts to look like that. All the way around. Try to cover it all. Gives a nice good stickiness to it. You can work it when it's cold. And it will wear off over time, but you'd be surprised how long it lasts. This also helps in just kind of the unraveling of your leather from just usage. The inside section. And all I do is I take the heat from my candle, just kind of remelt it in there. Just a little bit of heat. Press it on in. Smear it in those grooves. There we go. Yeah. Everything is said and done. Got one nice first edition, should be your first stone blade. Now obviously this is much bigger. I usually kind of cut this maybe down to about 5 or 6 inches, but this one here will last quite some time. As you look at it, it's a real simple design. Again, I've kind of got that top saw edge, my blade edge, and as I use it, it's going to kind of reshape itself just by sharpening. I've got this backside scraper, and I've got this little hook right here for cutting fibers, cutting grasses, thing to that extent. Feels good in the hand. I know using this style and using this sort of blade before and butchering, it makes a huge difference, especially when you can grab onto it. Like I'm squeezing as hard as I can, and I've got this back portion right in my palm and good finger control. It's kind of 4 tools in one, but you'll find that most of your cuts with stone blades are more of like a saw, cutting through flesh, cutting plant fibers, cutting notches in fireboards. You know, with this, you can do some carving, but it's not necessarily a carve you would with like a regular knife. This is more of a scrape. You can take a piece of wood and scrape away just by holding this guy like this, really using that cutting edge or even using that back saw edge. This is what I recommend if you were looking to go down those stone tools, those primitive skills path. Drop the steel, go with some stone, go deeper into what you're wanting to learn, make yourself a stone knife, spend the year using it, go on some adventures. Can't go wrong. All right, thanks for watching. See you in the bush.